You want to make so much money it feels like cheating. But the truth is that most people will never experience this feeling because they cling to rules that were built to keep them obedient. Machiavelli understood something that the modern world has forgotten. Wealth isn't a reward for hard work, it's a reward for positioning, perception, and psychological advantage. The man who becomes rich isn't the man who works the hardest. It's the man who sees the hidden mechanisms of power and uses them before anyone else realizes what happened. And the moment you accept this, the moment you understand that the world is not fair and was never designed to be, everything shifts. Making money begins to look less like a struggle and more like a strategy, less like effort and more like manipulation of opportunity. The modern world is built on illusions. Illusions of effort, illusions of equality, illusions of honesty. And if you don't learn how to see through them, you become another pawn in someone else's design. There's a silent elite who make money in ways they never speak about publicly. They don't brag, they don't explain, they don't teach. They simply understand the hidden rule. To get ahead, you must operate in the shadows while everyone else fights in the light. Machiavelli said it clearly. You must learn how not to be good. If you want extraordinary wealth, you cannot behave like the average man. You cannot ask for permission. You cannot wait for approval. You have to develop an edge so sharp it cuts through the noise of the world. Wealth comes from seeing what others miss. Most people chase money like a dog chasing cars, blindly, emotionally, desperately. They do not understand the psychology behind influence, attention, leverage, and desire. They think money comes from effort, but money comes from controlling what people value. If you can influence what they desire, you control the flow of money itself. That is where the feeling of cheating comes from. Not because you are breaking the rules, but because you are playing a different game. The rich understand that humans are predictable. Their fears, insecurities, dreams, frustrations, these are levers. And once you know which lever to pull, money moves effortlessly toward you. If you know how to trigger curiosity, you can sell ideas. If you know how to trigger fear, you can sell security. If you know how to trigger aspiration, you can sell transformation. People think manipulation is evil, but Machiavelli knew the truth. People manipulate each other every day, consciously or unconsciously. The difference is that the rich do it with strategy, while the poor do it accidentally. To make money like it feels illegal, you must first detach your emotions from the process. Most people stay broke because they create emotional stories around money. They want to feel worthy. They want to feel validated. They want others to approve of their success. But money doesn't care about your feelings. Money doesn't respond to hope, fear, or insecurity. Money responds to intelligence, timing, and leverage. The moment you stop trying to be liked and start focusing on outcomes, you'll feel a shift inside you. A coldness, a stoic calm, a darker clarity. That's when wealth becomes inevitable. Because money is not earned, it is extracted. It is pulled, redirected, and siphoned from the chaos of society. Every dollar you will ever make already exists in someone else's pocket. Your job is to understand what they want badly enough to give it to you. And this is where psychology becomes your strongest weapon. Humans don't act logically, they act emotionally. They don't buy what they need, they buy what they crave. They don't pay for the value you give them, they pay for the feelings you make them experience. If you understand this, wealth becomes a matter of engineering emotion. The first emotion to engineer is urgency. Humans postpone everything. Dreams, responsibilities, opportunities, unless you create pressure. When you understand how to create internal pressure in the minds of others, you can move money with almost supernatural ease. You can make someone take action today instead of someday. And in a world where everyone delays, the person who triggers immediacy becomes irresistible. The second emotion is curiosity. Curiosity is the gateway to influence. Once you make someone wonder, they're already hooked. Their brain opens a loop that only you can close. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. Keep people guessing. Never reveal everything at once. Create mystery. In modern terms, mystery is money. If they lean in, they pay attention. If they pay attention, they become persuadable. The third emotion is desire. Not desire for products, but desire for identity. People don't want things. They want versions of themselves, richer, stronger, more respected, more admired. Your job is to link your offer to the version of themselves they secretly dream about. If you can activate that part of them, the transaction becomes automatic. They give you money not because they want your product, but because they want access to their potential. Most people are too ethical to become rich. They want to do things the right way. They want success that looks clean, pure, respectable. But Machiavelli would tell you straight, the world doesn't reward purity. The world rewards effectiveness, and effectiveness is rarely clean. To rise above the masses, you must accept your shadow, not hide from it. You must be willing to think thoughts that the average man fears to express. You must be willing to outmaneuver, outperform, and outsmart those who cling to illusions of fairness. The truth is, making money like it feels illegal requires you to think like a strategist, not a worker. Workers exchange time for money. Strategists build systems that multiply themselves. Workers follow rules. Strategists create frameworks. Workers hope for raises. Strategists create leverage. And leverage is the closest thing to cheating that exists in the modern world. It allows you to do one action and get paid 1,000 times. One skill can produce a lifetime of income. One decision can change your financial trajectory forever. Leverage is built in 3 forms: attention, automation, and assets. Attention is the most powerful currency today. If you can attract it, control it, and redirect it, you can build wealth faster than any generation before you. People think attention is about fame, but it is about psychology. It is about having access to the emotional landscape of thousands of minds simultaneously. And if you understand what these minds crave, hope, escape, identity, empowerment, you can influence them effortlessly. Automation is the second form of leverage. The wealthy understand that time is too valuable to waste on repetitive tasks. Automation lets you multiply your actions without multiplying your effort. If you create a system that generates value even while you sleep, you unlock the kind of money that feels unnatural. Most people will never experience this because they stay trapped in cycles of manual labor, even mental labor. But once you build systems, funnels, content machines, workflows, products, you begin to detach effort from reward. The final form of leverage is assets. Not assets in the traditional sense, but assets of influence, information, and intellectual property. Ideas that generate revenue repeatedly. Skills that position you above competition, frameworks that make you irreplaceable. The person who owns assets owns freedom, and freedom is the ultimate currency of power. But none of this works unless you adopt the psychological stance Machiavelli taught, the stance of cold clarity. You must be able to see human beings not only as individuals, but as patterns. You must understand their predictable triggers, their predictable illusions, their predictable mistakes. People reveal themselves without realizing it. They expose their desires, their weaknesses, their blind spots. If you pay attention, you can use all of it to your advantage, not to harm them, but to position yourself strategically. When you start moving with this level of awareness, something strange happens. Opportunities begin to appear where others see nothing. You start hearing things people don't hear. You see angles they overlook. You recognize openings they ignore. It feels unfair, but it isn't. It is simply the consequence of paying attention in a world of distracted minds. You must become the type of person who studies the flaws of others, not to judge them, but to predict them. If you can predict behavior, you can control outcomes. And if you can control outcomes, you can control money. This is the part that makes wealth feel forbidden, as if you're accessing a part of reality that was meant to stay hidden. But this is exactly what Machiavelli taught rulers. Those who understand human nature rise. Those who ignore it fall. When you master psychology, money flows differently. You stop chasing it and it comes to you. You stop begging for opportunities and they appear. You stop feeling desperate and you become magnetic. Humans are attracted to certainty, strength, and direction. If you speak with authority, even internally, they follow. If they follow, they trust. If they trust, they buy. And when buying becomes a natural consequence of your presence, wealth feels almost too easy. You reach a point where you understand that the world isn't divided into rich and poor, but into players and pieces. Most people move like pieces, reacting to forces they don't control, following rules they didn't write, repeating patterns they didn't choose. They live by scripts handed to them by society, family, school, media, scripts that keep them predictable, harmless, and financially powerless. But once you break out of this scripted existence, once you become a player instead of a piece, money stops being the gatekeeper of your life and becomes a tool you bend to your will. Machiavelli would tell you that power is not given, it is taken. Wealth follows the same logic. The people who accumulate extraordinary amounts of money don't wait for opportunity. They create it. They don't hope for luck. They manufacture it. They don't depend on the system. They hack it. When you cross that psychological threshold, you no longer see yourself as another participant in the economy. You see yourself as an architect shaping your own financial reality. That is the moment making money begins to feel like cheating, because you're no longer playing by the emotional rules that keep the masses trapped. The average person tries to make money linearly. They want to earn a little more each year, save a little more each month, climb the ladder slowly. But linear progress is slavery disguised as stability. The wealthy think exponentially. They look for moves that multiply, not add. They avoid environments where effort and reward are linked tightly together. They choose paths where effort becomes irrelevant once systems, psychology, and influence take over. This mindset is the real cheat code. When your thinking becomes exponential, your income follows. But exponential thinking requires you to detach your identity from the limitations around you. You cannot become wealthy if you identify with your environment. You cannot become powerful if you identify with your past. You cannot become influential if you worry about offending the fragile. Machiavelli insisted that a leader must be willing to be misunderstood, criticized, feared if necessary. In the modern world, this translates into a refusal to shrink yourself to fit the expectations of people who are comfortable being average. You must embrace the discomfort of standing alone. That isolation is where your real transformation begins. To make money at a level that feels almost unfair, you must understand the psychology of scale. Humans are tribal creatures. They follow momentum. They follow confidence. They follow perceived authority even more than real authority. Once you learn how to speak with the tone of someone who cannot be ignored, people treat you differently. They listen deeper. They trust faster. They buy quicker. Influence is less about what you say and more about the emotional gravity you carry. When your presence feels decisive, people assume you know something they don't. That assumption is profitable. The real secret behind wealth is asymmetric advantage. The wealthy rarely take risks where losses and gains are equal. They choose situations where the potential upside is far greater than the downside. They position themselves to win big and lose small. Most people live in the opposite pattern. They risk a lot to gain a little and end up suffering slowly. You break out of this trap by choosing actions where the consequence of failure is minimal, but the reward of success is transformational. Creating content, building digital assets, selling knowledge, cultivating influence, these are asymmetric winners. Small input, massive potential output. Asymmetric advantage is also psychological. You don't need to be smarter than others. You just need to think differently. You don't need more resources, you need more creativity. You don't need permission, you need intent. Intent is the fuel behind every great strategical move. When you decide that your financial life is no longer a matter of chance, but of design, you begin to see money-making opportunities in places you previously ignored. Most people fail because they want reassurance. They want a guarantee. They want safety. But seeking safety makes you predictable, and predictable people cannot exploit opportunities. Wealth requires emotional risk, the willingness to be seen failing, the willingness to look crazy until it works, the willingness to act before you're ready. Machiavelli praised boldness over perfection. He said fortune favors the audacious. In business terms, this means speed is more valuable than flawless planning. Move fast, adjust fast, learn fast. This velocity creates momentum, and momentum creates wealth. You become dangerous, not in a violent way, but in a psychological way. Dangerous because you act while others hesitate. Dangerous because you think while others daydream. Dangerous because you detach from the emotional noise that slows everyone else down. This is where money begins to flow toward you as if pulled by gravity. The world rewards those who demonstrate clarity when everyone else is confused. And clarity comes from understanding that wealth is created in the mind long before it appears in the bank. Your mind is the first asset. Your attention is the first currency. Your discipline is the first advantage. When you master these three, you develop what feels like an unfair level of focus. You stop being distracted by the chaos around you. You stop craving validation. You stop chasing shortcuts. Instead, you become the shortcut. You become the source. People can feel when someone has stepped into that higher psychological state. They don't know why, but they become drawn to you. And wherever attention flows, money follows. If you want to make money like it feels illegal, you must learn to exploit the biggest weakness in human psychology, the desire for transformation. People will always spend money to escape their pain or accelerate their desires. If you can provide a path, real or perceived, to either of these outcomes, you can build wealth endlessly. This is why information is the most powerful asset of the modern age. When you understand something others don't, you hold economic power. When you communicate that understanding in a way that creates emotion, you hold psychological power. And when people look to you for direction, you hold financial power. Machiavelli taught rulers that perception matters more than reality. People don't respond to the truth. They respond to what they believe is true. This principle alone can make you rich. If people believe you are an authority, you become one. If they believe you can help them, they pay you. If they believe you have the answers, they follow you. Authority is one of the most profitable illusions in history, and unlike physical resources, it can be created from nothing but confidence, consistency, and clarity. To reach this level, you must remove the emotional barriers that have kept you trapped. Fear of being judged, fear of being wrong, fear of failing publicly. These emotions keep millions of people poor, not because they lack skill, but because they lack the willingness to be seen stepping into their potential. Wealth requires exposure. You must put yourself in positions where you can be misunderstood, where you can be criticized, where you can be attacked. The stronger your tolerance for discomfort, the bigger the opportunities you can seize. People respect the person who moves with purpose even when no one understands them. They respect the person who speaks with conviction even before they have proof. They respect the person who keeps building even when others give up. When you embody this type of character, you access a psychological advantage most people will never experience. And this inner advantage becomes an external advantage. It turns into income. It turns into influence. It turns into opportunity. You begin to realize that money is not the goal. Money is the consequence. The goal is building a mind sharp enough to cut through uncertainty, a presence strong enough to command attention, a strategy clear enough to create inevitability. Once these are in place, money becomes a byproduct of who you are. That is when it feels like cheating, when wealth arrives faster than your past identity can process, when you start earning in days what used to take months, when you see opportunities appear effortlessly because your mindset is aligned with the structure of power itself. Most people drown in complexity. They think making money is difficult because they overcomplicate the process. But Machiavelli understood that the simplest strategies are often the most powerful because they are the easiest to execute consistently. Influence people, solve problems, create desire, build systems, leverage attention, repeat. The reason this feels unfair is because the average person refuses to do these 5 things long enough to see results. They want immediate gratification. You want domination. That's why your path looks different. There will come a moment in your journey when you wake up and realize you no longer think like the people around you. Their problems seem small, their excuses seem transparent, their fears seem unnecessary. This psychological separation is the beginning of your empire. You cannot rise while holding on to the mindset of those who refuse to climb. You cannot lead while thinking like the followers. You cannot win while surrounding yourself with the defeated. Detach emotionally and your ascent will accelerate. You will start to sense that earning money is less about talent and more about removing inner resistance. That the world is full of people willing to pay, but very few willing to offer something worth paying for. You become that rare person. You become the exception.